What's up, world? This is Raul with LiveLOUD coming at you guys again with another episode of Say It Loud. So one of the really exciting things that I really love about my work, aside from working with brands and getting to walk them through, getting to experience themselves on a whole nother level and telling their story, is being able to work in the impact side of it, to be able to travel to different parts of the world and work with people who are really making a big difference in the community. In this journey, I also found the distinction between people who are at service to help develop their community and those people who are actually standing and changing lives and saving lives. So today I have a very dear friend, Miss Jan Edwards. Hey Jan, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey Raul, thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
Yes, so I'll let Jan jump into who she is and what she does, but we met a couple of years ago at a screening of a film that she created with her team in regards to her stand, her mission out into the world. And it's been mind-blowing and been such an amazing pleasure to see the growth and transformation, the impact that she's been creating. So Jan, please jump right in and say who you are, what you do, and what you're creating.
Absolutely. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Jan Edwards and I'm the president CEO of Paving the Way Foundation, and we are a fierce disruption in the cycle of child trafficking. And we do that through education and training programs. I am the writer, producer, and co-director of our award-winning film, Trapped in the Trade. You can go check out the trailer, trappedfilm.com, that talks about the intentional recruitment and grooming of children by children, right here in the United States. That's the thing about human trafficking. Most people think it's an over there issue, and it's not. It's a right here, right down your street, right in your block, right in your neighborhood issue. And there, according to the FBI, there's over 300,000 children every year that get lured into this life. And we're out to have that be zero. And that's just in the United States. Worldwide, right? Because I know, Raul, you are a world traveler.
Yeah.
Worldwide, there's over 40 million people enslaved, and 25% of that is children. So that's about 5 to 6 million children every day that wake up enslaved. And I'm not okay with that. And so we're out to really educate people so they understand what human trafficking is, empower people. So once they know, you can't unknow, and you can share it with people. Also, we can do the third thing, which is we're committed to, which is preventing people from being trafficked.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's such an important aspect of there to really highlight that that we think it's a problem out there, right? We don't often, I don't imagine it being the main thing that people speak about when they're educating their kids. One of the things that stood out to me is that my sister, as I shared with you before, the neighbor of my sister's house was shut down for human and drug trafficking. I wouldn't have thought, we assume, okay, it's somewhere out there, more so in the world than it is right here, but it was right next to my sister's house, where my two nieces and nephews are living right there. And you said the average age of a child being trafficked is what?
The average age is 12 to 14, and depending on your state, according to our state, it's 12 to 14. Other states, it's 11 to 16. But bottom line, our children's prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed yet. And predators know this, and that's what they take advantage of.
Yeah. So how was it that you got into this work? What stemmed you into, how did you end up in this mission?
Yeah, because most people have this question in the back of their mind. It's like, were you trafficked? No, I wasn't trafficked. Thank God, right? And I'm grateful for the warriors and the survivors that I get to stand alongside that help guide me in what it is we do. We have an advisory board of survivors to check in with our curriculum that it's really hitting the mark. And so far we're hitting the mark. So this journey started, to do the math, 7 years ago. I was invited to go to Ethiopia on a medical mission. And it was there that I witnessed human trafficking. And it was one of those moments, if anybody's ever been on a mission trip, you're spending 14, 16 hours a day doing something with other people and for other people. And by the end of the day, you're tapped out, you're like done, right? And we all are sitting and looking out the window, staring out the window in the white van. And it was just a moment in time. I was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and there were 2 older men, 2 younger girls, and it just didn't feel right. That gut right there? And it just didn't feel right. And I'm like, well, that was weird. So I got to my sponsor's house, And I shared with him what I saw. And he's like, well, yeah, that's human trafficking, Jan. And, you know, you got to get, this is 7 years ago. It's not what it is right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's looking at me like I got two heads. Like, how can you not know about this? I'm like, well, I live in Orlando, land of happy. You know, we're in a little bubble here, magical place. And he's like, Jan, he goes, we have 4.5 million orphans here in Ethiopia. He goes, we're the #1 source of human trafficking into the Middle East. And my head was still spinning. I was like, wait, hang on a second. I go, you're telling me people are still selling people? Like, I just didn't get it. And he looked at me again with a little bit more compassion, really realizing that I had no idea what he was talking about. And he goes, Jan, this is $150 billion industry. Like, where have you been? I was like, well, clearly hidden under a rock. And it was really there that it got laid on my heart. It was, from up above, it just got laid on my heart. And when I came home, I started to do some research and found out Florida has the 3rd highest number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline. So here we are, happiest place on earth, and we have the 3rd highest number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline. Now, ironically, you're in New York. People would think New York is #1. It's not. It's #5. It goes California, Texas, Florida, Ohio, New York. Yeah. So, I really started doing some research, and I really started having conversations because I'm a businesswoman. I have a business background. I worked for 25 years in the telecommunications industry, running multi-million-dollar line items, right? So that's how my brain functions. And I'm like, I don't understand how this is happening and no one's talking about it. Like, I finally got my head wrapped around this is happening. What I couldn't get my head wrapped around is why no one was talking about it. So I went to work. I share with people I don't know a lot, and I know a lot of people. So I picked up the phone and started calling people. So I talked to the FBI, I talked to Homeland Security, I talked to Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I talked to survivors, and I asked them all the same question. What's missing that would make the difference in this horrific thing that's happening? And they all said awareness. Nobody knows what's happening. Well, my background's marketing and advertising. I know how to do that. So I'm like, that's something I'll take on. And that's really what's been the basis for our mission, is to prevent this from happening, to raise awareness and prevent it from happening, because no one should be held against their will and forced to do something they don't want to do. And that's what we're out to disrupt. And to date, we've educated over 13,000 youth and adults in the past 3 years.
That's just incredible. You're saying this was 7 years ago, and I think I saw your screening 5 years ago. So you went back to work.
Yeah.
You jumped right in.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's not being spoken about?
Well, it is now.
Okay.
I'm happy to say, right? That's the good news, is more and more people are seeing it out in the news, and more it's coming aware. But I think, and still it's uncomfortable for people, because 1, we're talking about sex. 2, we're talking about slavery, right? And there's some deep-seated wounds in this nation, well, in the world, quite frankly, about slavery. And so, when we go out and have conversations with people, it's really interesting. It's like it washes over them, and they'll look and they'll be, you're talking slavery. I'm like, yeah, I am talking slavery. We've just covered it up and had it be human trafficking, which most people think human trafficking means I move you from point A to point B. Not so. Human trafficking, as the definition by the government, right, and state authorities, is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to have someone do something they wouldn't normally choose to do. Now, that's an adult. With children, none of that needs to be present, because we're very clear a child would not choose to be sexually abused. Cognitively would not choose. First of all, they can't, because this isn't fully developed yet, right? Secondly, it's like when I go out and talk to youth, it's what I share a tennis analogy. I'm like, can you imagine playing tennis against Serena Williams? We'd all just hold the racket up and hope we could avoid being hit by her serve. That's what these predators are to our children. You're talking a 35, 42-year-old adult against an 11, 12-year-old mind. Who's going to win that battle?
Yeah.
And that's what we educate our kids on, is They've got to be aware of who they're talking to, especially here and online. You know, gaming, all of that, because that's where these predators will do their recruiting. Is, you know, and especially now, that's why we've been doing our Facebook Lives, is because we've got millions of children at home. Many of them are home unsupervised because there are people out, their parents are essential workers. So you've got children online, unsupervised. It's a predator's dream come true. So we're super committed about educating parents so they can have the conversation with their children.
Yes, there's several things right there that is so important to highlight. That one, I think a lot of people also assume that the only way human trafficking looks is means someone's out there tied to a radiator and they can't get loose. That's not always the case, right? Like I remember I worked
rarely the case.
Right, and it's a mental thing. It's a mental imprisonment. It's not just a physical thing, because people can be in their lives. Well, like my kid is in the other room. It's like that does not necessarily mean that they are unable to be trafficked.
Well, it's called a trauma bond, and it's very simple how these predators get into our kids' heads. And we've all done it, and you're seeing so much of it right now on social media. People complaining about everything, really everything. And all it takes is for a child to post, my best friend fill in the blank, my mom, my dad, whatever that is, right? They're venting, and predators look for that. My mom did the same thing. And so now all of a sudden you're bonded over this horrible experience that your mom took away your TV, you know, but you got to get in the mind of an 11 or 12-year-old where someone took their phone away. That's like death. You know, so the first place they're going to go is they're going to go complain about it online. And predators look for that, and they start to bond with them. And they start to put this wedge in between them and their friends and their family. And it's over time. It's not an instantaneous thing. These predators are patient. Because if you've read anything about Pornhub, there are hundreds of thousands of videos of children being harmed, of doing things to themselves because they now feel forced. Because all it takes is, you know, oh, Raul, you are so handsome. You are so handsome. You're so smart. I don't know why that teacher gave you that grade. You know, read me your poem. Read me your report. Oh, you're so smart. Those teachers don't know anything about you. Your parents don't understand you. So they start to feed them these lies. Yeah. And over time, remember, this isn't developed yet.
Right.
Over time, you start to believe this person versus all these people in your family. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, you're taking off your shirt, or you're, you know, showing up in just underwear, because they'll be like, it's just like a bathing suit. Just go ahead and take it off and show me. It's okay. It's just between us. Having no idea, because we're on Zoom, right? Mm-hmm. I can push the record button. Kids don't know that. Yeah. Right? So now they start to get uncomfortable, and the predator's like, well, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to post all these pictures online. Yeah. Or, well, you know what? I've now tapped into your family's computer. I know what your parents are doing. I know where they work. I can hurt them. So now you're using manipulation and threats to a child who now has the weight of the world on their shoulders, because they're now responsible for the well-being of their family.
And they have to be silent about it. There's silence.
Yeah, and they can't say anything. That's, you know, it's a silent crime, and they call it a silent crime for a reason, because you have guilt, shame, and embarrassment. Shame being one of the most detrimental emotions a human being can have on one side. And then you have threats and manipulation and guilt on the other side. You know, it's like, well, you know, you really wanted to do that. I thought you were my friend, you know, and I was talking to somebody the other day who was with Special Forces for over 30 years. And the latter part of his career was doing recruitment for Special Forces. Mm-hmm. And he said on these people's applications, these young men were putting down people that they'd known for 3 years. Well, not really. They'd been playing video games with them for 3 years. This person lived in Australia, and they put them down as a reference. So they're not grounded in reality of really what a friend is, of really what a reference is, of really what a real relationship is. Right. Yes, we can bond this way. We can, absolutely. Is it really a relationship?
Right.
I don't know. For a lot of our youth, it is.
And that's all they need to latch on and hold on to
That's
that.
it. That's it.
You know, there's so much importance. What there's reason why also, like, even lately I've just been sharing your stuff is because I would imagine that a lot of parents are thinking, well, I'll teach my kid about stranger danger. So therefore that eliminates the possibility of that. But the stranger danger means the fear of that unknown. And what you're saying right now is that these people develop relationships where the kids are on this all the time. They're on the computer all the time. They're playing games, and now they're online and they're speaking to people.
Yes.
And like I think about my nieces and nephews, I'm like, who are online, who are they speaking to? Are those actually kids? Who else is on that? There's nothing to surveillance any of those conversations, dialogues, or what's occurring.
Yeah, if there's a chat feature on those apps,
Mm-hmm.
it puts your child at risk. Because anyone can hop in and chat. And look, there's been, if people go to my Facebook page, Jan Edwards or Paving the Way at Paving W, we post article after article after article about children that are being recruited online by someone they thought was their age. There's a little girl right here in Orlando. She was playing a video game, Minecraft, was on the live portion. So was playing with other people and bonded with this one girlfriend. Then they went from there over to Facebook and started chatting. And, and this is over time, 6 months. And, the mom, the predator was so smart because they're like, oh, tell your mom I say hi. And, how's your mom doing? So, so the mom would start to chat with this person thinking it's another child. Just like as if your daughter's friends would come over to your house and you build a rapport with their friends, same thing. So magically, 6 months later, hey, me and my family are coming down to Disney. I'd love to see you. Okay. Where do we meet? Well, let's meet at this place. And the mom goes and drops her daughter off thinking she's meeting.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it was a 42-year-old white male from Georgia, kidnapped her, drove her back to Georgia, thankfully, found her before anything happened. Still traumatic. Point being, she thought the whole time she was talking to another 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And one of the things I share with parents is it's imperative you have your child's social media passwords. Imperative. And if you don't have a child and you're not in a relationship, have somebody have your social media passwords, because I'm actually working with someone right now in a case of a missing girl. Mm-hmm. And she flew out to LA. I put the poster on my Facebook page. She flew out to LA thinking she was flying out for a job, realized she wasn't, called her family in a panic. I want to come home. I need to come home. There was some miscommunication. She hung up and they haven't heard from her since. And no one has access to her social media. So now you've just put the police hours behind because they have no idea. Mm-hmm. And so what we, coach parents all the time is you've got to have this information. You've got to, for your child's safety. And you don't just do it to do it. Mm-hmm. You sit down and have a conversation with your child.
Yes. You
show them some of the information and you Google human trafficking together and human trafficking cases such that they get the reality of it. And, we remember being teenagers. We knew it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We know it all.
Yeah.
Your mom, I'm good. They're just taller toddlers. And we do want our children, to experience some level of independence. However, it's our job to keep them safe. And that's the conversation to have with them. It's like I used to have with my daughter. It's like, look, sweetheart, I know you're a good driver. I go, the reason why I say be safe is I know you're going to be the responsible one at the four-way stop, making sure everyone else stops. That's when I say be safe. It's not that I don't trust your driving.
Yes.
It's the other people I'm concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. And after a while, she really got it because she saw several accidents that happened when people weren't paying attention. Mm-hmm. It's a very similar conversation with your kids. It's like, you just want to be like, look, it's my job to keep you safe. It's not that I don't trust you. It has nothing to do with that. I don't trust out there. Mm-hmm. These people do not have your best interest in mind. I do.
Absolutely. So before we get into what people can do or precautions or any of that stuff, I want to hear a little bit more from you. What is the fuel that keeps you going? I know this is something that you experienced and it has deep rooted, but I know I would imagine also that this journey can be very tiresome for you as well. Like it's a big fight.
Well, you know, what's interesting, because I'm on the prevention side,
Mhm.
I don't get tired. And this isn't my mission, right? I am God's girl, right? So it's my experience, it's from above. So that's what fuels me, is I know I'm the hands and feet and eyes and ears of God, making sure children are safe. So that's what fuels me. And, you know, because I am on the prevention side, I am very clear. I am not designed to be on the rescue side. I'm just not, because there's a frustration and an upset inside of me that it just wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
I get the occasional spank, you know, for disciplinary reasons, but to intentionally harm a child, I don't get it. So, as most people know, I am adopted and I am part of the Cherokee tribe. And I met my birth family 4 years ago, and it's been a really great awakening for me of some other deep-seated why I'm so passionate about this, and didn't realize it until recently, right? A couple of years ago, is, you know, my mom gave me up for adoption, and inside my family there was some sexual abuse. So my birth mom literally and figuratively saved my life. I lived an amazing life with a wonderful family. And going back and meeting my family and really starting to get connected to my Cherokee roots, I found out that my great grandmother walked the Trail of Tears. There's generally about 3 pages in our history book about the Trail of Tears. Oh, only a few thousand Indians died. No, hundreds of thousands of people died. On Ancestry.com, I traced that side of my lineage back, and it's really interesting. There's several posts that say was lost on the Trail of Tears, was lost on the Trail of Tears. So
Wow.
just in my family, my birth family, dozens of people were lost. And you're talking, you know, hundreds of thousands of people displaced in the middle of the night, had no time to pack, literally could only take what they could carry in October, right before winter. It was planned. So there's this justice thing inside of me that I didn't really realize was the source of it, along with the Most High, right?
Yes.
Like this combination of genetics, DNA. You know, I'm not okay with people being suppressed. I'm not okay with people being taken advantage of, along with doing what's right, and for people to actually have a say in how their life goes, regardless of the circumstances.
Jen, you are such a gift. I love this. You're speaking about something that is not just a decision, but something that you subscribe to fundamentally in your core of, this is why I'm here. How it looks like is you create awareness. How you look like is create the life that of the connection, right? Because we're not just, the prevention side of what you're doing is not necessarily just to avoid the bad, but it's also pulling people together as people be more conscientious on being part of the community and taking care of one another, intellectually developing yourself and being mindful about all this stuff. It's very, very powerful.
To the connection and community and mindedness, you know, because my business background, I want to know that what I'm doing is actually making the difference that I'm out to making, right? So we do pre and post tests after every course we teach, but I educated about 350 middle schoolers and went back 5 months later just to check in. It's like, did they really learn what I wanted them to learn, and that it made a difference, right? So it's really answering 2 questions. One, did I interrupt a pattern that someone actually didn't take an action? Or did I actually inspire someone to take an action to save somebody else's life, right? I just kind of wanted to see which path people went. 65% of the kids that we surveyed shared what they learned with a parent or a friend. These are middle schoolers.
Yeah.
To get a middle schooler to have a conversation about anything is miraculous. But to have them have a conversation about this kind of topic, it's a miracle. It's my only explanation. Yeah. It got in. And the other 2 things that really just, every time I share it, it moves me, is about 37% stopped accepting friend requests from people they don't know online, right? So we interrupted an action. And the other one that just really, every time, 27% went and had lunch with someone who normally sits and eat lunch alone.
Wow.
Because we actually give them what to do, right? And like, look, y'all know those kids that eat lunch alone, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, look, all you gotta do is, I said, just go sit Just go sit right next to him and go, hi. We don't have to talk. I know this might be weird. I'm just going to sit here and eat my lunch with you. And I go, what does that do for that person? And it's always someone in the back. And they go, they were seen. Someone saw them. They were noticed, which has them start to experience that they matter and they're worthy. So I have no idea how many potential suicides we stopped. I don't know how many potential shootings we interrupted. I don't know how many potential bullying we thwarted, but I do know when we educate our youth and we empower them with actions to take, they take them, which brings that level of consciousness up and that experience of community together.
It's just beautiful. Jen, you leave me without words. That is, yes, that all of it, yes. You know, this informing people and educating people and allowing that to really create this different flow in their life is just, it's all elevating. It's all elevating. God forbid that kid might not have crossed anything like a predator, but now the trajectory and the connection and the dynamics of their relationship with themselves has now pivoted simply because of awareness.
Exactly. And I'll have no idea, you know, which I'm okay with. I don't, you know, I just want to make sure that our education's making the difference we want it to make. The trajectory that they choose after that, at least it's more of a choice, cognitive choice. Then how did I end up here? You know, that, how did this happen? Y'all know that feeling right there? That uncomfortable, sometimes it might be chemicals, but we've got mirror neurons in our brain that we, you know, I call it the BS detector. We know when people are BSing us, we really actually do. And we've got to pay attention to that, you know? And so with parents and children, if you think something's up, you got to take an action. Regret along with shame is one of the two most destroying emotions we have. And so you can actually avoid that kind of regret by taking an action. You know, checking in with someone, going, hey, really, how are you? How's it going today? Really? I'm right here if you need me. And then if you do that over time, someone's like, wow, okay, they really must care, especially if someone's been harmed by someone they trust, you know? And so you, as the uncle, can actually be a safe space for your nieces and nephews to have them share. Because, you know, I think every young person needs a non-parental figure that they can just share with, that they can just be themselves with. Disappointment is real for a child. You know, and the worst thing they want to do is disappoint their parent. So they're not going to tell the parent everything because they don't want to have their parent be disappointed in them. But you, as an uncle, can create that safe space that they can share whatever they want to share with you. And you'll know, ooh, okay, this is something I gotta, you know, and then you can gently say, it's like, look, let's have a conversation with your mom about this. She might be a little upset at first, but that's okay. She still loves you. She's not going to take her love away. And this is part of growing up. This is part of experiencing life, is failing and learning. Well, let's go have that conversation with your mom. You know, so they see you as an ally, not someone who's betrayed their trust, right? And they see you as someone who's really got their back.
I love that, Jen, because I'm over here thinking about what message we want to send to the parents out there. And I'm getting hit with all these messages on like, how can I show up, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be my kid. It's how am I showing up with my people, my community?
Yes, because kids need you, Raul. Kids need mentors. Youth needs someone who they experience has their back. You know, to keep them. I used to tell my daughter, I said, I'm the bumpers in the bowling game of life. That's my job, is to keep you going on a path that serves your highest good. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to make sure that you don't veer off that way too far. You don't veer off that way too far, you know? And her friends knew that's who I was for them too. I was the mom that had the sex talk with all the girls. I was the one, and there, you know, my daughter was rolling her eyes, but she was so grateful over time, you know, that she didn't follow some of the paths that some of her friends did. You know, so as They, the kids may roll their eyes, they may be busy on their phone, but they're paying attention. They are actually listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think you gave us a couple of different messages on what people can be doing, such as like the social media passwords and having these conversations. Now, what would you say for the parents that are home, or the people who are in direct relationship with kids right now? They're in this quarantine time, and maybe not know how to spark that up. What would you say for them right now that you could start going and educating their own families?
Really, really great, Raul. This is what I use every time I talk. Use a fact that you learned today. We've given you several facts, right? The average age of recruitment is, 11 to 14. So as a parent, I can go, hey, I heard this thing today about human trafficking, that the average age of recruitment is 11 to 14. Have you ever heard anything like that? You pose it as an inquiry, and kids they're like either no, or whatever, mom, or they'll have whatever kind of reaction they have, but you've planted a seed, and you might come back and go, hey, you know what else I learned? New York has the 5th highest number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline. Isn't that weird? That's where we live. Let's go look some of that stuff up. You can always be in the inquiry. And the other great thing that I encourage parents to do is kids love to teach their parents something. It puts them in the driver's seat for a period of time, right? And so it's like, God, as I keep hearing all these things about this thing called TikTok. Can you show me how to use that? Right? Or Snapchat or whatever, because there's apps coming out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in the inquiry with your child, it gives them an opportunity to educate you, and you now open a conversation. Now, I will caution parents with one thing. There's some really great apps out there that monitor what your kids are doing, both on their phone and online. I'm going to say, please, before you put that on your child's devices, have a conversation. Because if they find out about it and you didn't have a conversation, you've now broken a sacred trust that it's going to be really hard to get back. Yeah. The other thing too is slavery is part of the history of our country. Sadly, it's part of the history of our world. Okay. So as a parent, if your kid's learning history, easily ask the question, have you guys covered slavery yet? What are you guys learning about slavery? Did you know that still exists today? Is your teacher talking about that? And so you can be again, it's all in the inquiry. People love to discover things on their own. Yeah. And so just starting a conversation, just being in the inquiry or asking for help, it will start the conversation with your kids.
I really love what you're saying right now, because there's so many times I would imagine that the approach is, hey, this is a topic, I need to tell you about it, be careful with this, this, and this, and this. But you're asking parents to have conversations, ask questions, have the kids rise up, which I'm sure just lays a whole nother level of impact, because now it's part of the kids' discovery rather than just a lesson being embedded on them.
Absolutely. People learn by discovering. No one, I don't care how old you are, likes to be told what to do. So let's have a dialogue about this.
Yes, absolutely.
I learned this thing today. I don't know much about it. Do you? I want to leave you with one more thing for our kids to know. Is the moment they take a picture and they send it to someone, you can't ever get that picture back. So if someone's asking for an inappropriate picture, you really have to ask yourself, does that person have your best interest in mind? That's the first thing. The second thing is it's actually illegal. It's called child pornography. And if you as a child, anyone under the age of 18, takes an inappropriate picture, that's the production of child pornography. The moment it leaves your phone, that's distribution. The moment it ends on someone's phone, that's possession. No matter what your age, whether you asked for it or not, and it's illegal. So that carries a class 1 misdemeanor all the way up to a class 3 felony. And there was a 15-year-old young man that was just recently put in jail for this. So not only does it have a psychological issue, it's a legal issue as well. Yeah. And you don't want to scare your kids with that. That just doesn't work.
Right.
But informing them of that
Mhm.
and looking it up together, that hasn't become real.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jen, for all of this. I want to radiate this out as much as possible. I can't stress enough how important this topic is. Where can people follow you, hear about the work, hear about more information, or stay tuned to what's coming next?
Sure. So on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I'm all at Paving W is the business page. My pages are Jan Edwards. So you can find me on Jan Edwards on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then our website is pavingthewayfoundation.org. And there's things you can download, there's videos you can watch, there's stories you can read. And we update our Facebook page all the time. So there's always more information that someone can read and download and share than one would ever have the experience of. And, you know, one of the things we love about showing our film is it evokes the conversation. So if anyone's interested in us coming to show our film and have a conversation with them, on our website, they can go to our contact page and just say, hey, I saw your video or your interview with Raul. I live in XYZ city. I would love to have a conversation with you, because we have 45 mission ambassadors around the country. So there's probably someone near you that can come in and show our film and have a conversation with your kids.
Amazing. I'm going to radiate this out. I'm going to get it to my community and have them share it, because again, this is a message that needs to be heard. It's a very big problem that's not being spoken up about. And the solution is there, and it's really unheard of in a lot of ways until people like you are doing this, are on this mission and creating that. So thank you so much, Jen, for your story, for your message, and everything that you do. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys. So for everyone tuning in, stay tuned to more episodes of Say It Loud, where we get to meet more extraordinary people doing such amazing, powerful things for our communities, our people, and just stay tuned. Some more greatness coming soon, and we will be back very soon. Take care, guys.